We are interviewing another CEO this week, the CEO of the Manatee Community Foundation, Veronica Thames. She's been there a year and a half. Interestingly, she started her career in healthcare, but that wasn't before coming to the country, the United States of America, at age 19. Join me, and please enjoy this podcast interview of Veronica Thames. Hey, did you know that we have a YouTube channel with all these podcasts and video? You get to see what's going on, what we look like when we're doing these podcasts. So if you'd like to go take a look, it's youtube.com/@thecorley company. We'll see you there. On this week's episode of I-501C, the podcast for nonprofit board members, I get to interview a friend, Veronica Thames, the CEO for Manatee Community Foundation. We've known each other a number of years. Veronica, welcome to the podcast. I tell you, introduce yourself and tell the audience a little bit about yourself, your career, and how you became CEO for Manatee Community Foundation.
Well, it's lovely to be here. Always enjoy your company and your leadership in my world and in MCF's world too. So I was born in Argentina, Buenos Aires. I came to the country at age 19 against my will because of my dad's job. I was very mad at him. But I quickly realized he made the greatest decision he ever could have for our family to afford us the opportunity to be in the land of opportunity, where all your dreams can come true if you work hard enough. So I did. I got a bachelor's degree in business administration and a master's degree in HR. And I became a leader for Tenet, a healthcare organization, hospitals. At age 24, I quickly moved into the leadership ranks there, and I was certainly outnumbered by a different generation and all men, I'll say, in that leadership table. But I learned a lot. And then I got headhunted over by HCA and had the pleasure of working at 2 hospitals within our national system. And then I got the philanthropy bug when I met Mark Pritchett, who then was initiatives director at Gulf Coast Community Foundation. And he brought me over, and I took a leap of faith into philanthropy and became the chief operating officer at Gulf Coast. And I enjoyed 5+ years there, building our board and team and managing the operation and opening our new philanthropy center in Sarasota, which was a joy. And then this opportunity came knocking unexpectedly to jump into my own county, Manatee, where I get to be the CEO of Manatee Community Foundation, the only community foundation that is in Manatee that serves the entire county. So I'm very proud, very grateful for the series of opportunities that were presented in my life and for the ability to take them. But I've been very warmly welcomed, and I see, sky is the limit when you have the incredible board and staff members as partners that I do. So that's me. I'm here, and I'm here to stay.
Well, we are glad you're here. You've had an interesting background. I want to touch on that a little bit because a lot of people who listen in the private sector go, I don't understand philanthropy, or, I might like to get into it. But so you made the leap. You were on a career trajectory in the healthcare space. I worked for HCA for a while too. We'll talk about that someday. But you chose to go into philanthropy. Why? What appealed, besides Mark, who's a wonderful human being, what appealed to you? Why would you make that leap?
It was scary. I'll say it was a new area, a new field, and a new role all in once. Trifecta for disaster when you make a career move. But I knew that I would be supported and have the opportunities. But for me, the reason was creating opportunities for all. Having grown up in a third world country, seeing what true suffering is firsthand every day in a city. When I moved to the country and I saw all these opportunities that we all have, it became to me quite obvious that I now had a responsibility. And the responsibility is to pay it forward, is to create opportunities for those who cannot, and to afford others a chance at a thriving life, not a content life. Beyond that, and if we're going to do that anywhere, it's here. And the field is philanthropy. Is a field where people actually are so committed to their mission, whether it's the nonprofit partners or the donors to leave a meaningful legacy, or the organizations like funder organizations to amplify the donors' impact in our communities, to build the capacity of the nonprofit partners that deliver the services our community need, and ultimately to improve the quality of human life. Personally, we're only here on Earth for so long. And what we do with the time we have is what matters. And I believe that philanthropy is about being in the place of lesser resources and greater need. And when I look at Manatee County, and I know that its population is going to outpace that of Sarasota by 2030, when I look at the fact that the Hispanic Latino segment of the community went from under 10% to 30% in just a little over a decade, and those communities have such additional needs and different needs, it's a privilege and an honor to be in the place of greater need and less resource, to thrive, to create the resources needed. It's a privilege. And so as the only community foundation that is in Manatee that serves the county at large, it's our duty, our job, and our privilege to partner with those donor families to create their legacy. And a meaningful piece, like Bob Carter from Carter Consulting and I were talking the other day, and we parked on, philanthropy is not a matter of wealth. Philanthropy is a matter of character. We can all be philanthropists, and we, as a matter of fact, all are, sometimes to a greater or lesser extent, but we all have time, talent, and treasure at different seasons of life. So the question is activating the time, the talent, or the treasure in that season. And so if we can be that catalyst for our donors, for our community partners, for those in need at the right time, then it's a great opportunity. And you've heard us in philanthropy talk so much about the transfer of wealth. We are seeing the boomer generations pass on their wealth to their children, to their grandchildren directly at times. And I like to say that with that transfer of wealth comes a transfer of responsibility. And as a community foundation, it's our job to help that family philanthropy, that transfer of responsibility to those younger generations. And it's, again, a privilege to be able to shape that and to invest in our future. So why philanthropy? Because it's the place where I can have the greatest impact. And I'm privileged.
Well, nobody can doubt your passion, that's for sure, and your sense of obligation. And I just really respect that. You really have a purpose, and that's fun to watch. But let me ask you this. Take you back a year and a half. You're a leader. You come in as CEO of an organization. How do you approach your first few months on the job? What did you prioritize? How did you get acclimated to this new role?
Great loaded question.
Yes.
I laugh because you and I were together on my day one.
That's right.
You led our retreat, our board retreat, and it was an interesting day to start. I know most people wondered why I would do such a thing, but it allowed me to see our board and our staff without my influence, without my drive, and I got to see who they really are, and they're incredible people. And so I was very welcomed and very eager myself because of the opportunities I saw and I still see. But I think it's a question of alignment before you get to that job. Is why are you motivated to work in that particular organization? Why the role? Why that team? And transparency is one of my dear core values. It's one of MCF's core values, and we align a lot in that. So I started that day at the board retreat with transparency. You might recall, I did a little presentation on who Veronica Thames is, so that those board members, especially that had not been part of the interview process, got to know me. And I wanted to be more objective. So what I did is I pulled out a few inventories, right? DISC, Myers-Briggs, True Colors, and a few others. And I plopped on a screen, and then I read off those expert inventories assessment of my personality, my drivers, my opportunities for improvement. And I just put them out there. And one of them, you'll remember, I want to do all the things all the time. So I warned our board, you're going to have to peel me off the ceiling sometimes. And I just believe in transparency. And my approach was that since day one. In terms of prioritizing and determining first steps and the priorities for my first 6 months to a year, I partner with my trusted mentors like Terry Hansen from the Charles and Marjorie Brunswick Foundation, Wendy Deming, now with Bishop Parker Foundation, and others that I trust and believe in, like yourself, to help guide me and orient me to what mattered the most to our county, to what they saw as our community opportunities. And then I met with over 400 people in the first 6 months, asking questions to understand how they saw MCF, what they thought our opportunities were, what the community's greatest needs were or are, and then created a bit of a path and a plan. And I shared it with our board. And I said, the first thing I think we need to do is engage Veracruz Advisory to create a financial sustainability deep dive and understand that we have opportunities if we're going to be here in perpetuity. That's our mission, right? To strengthen and enhance our community through philanthropy, education, and service, now and forever. So if that's our charge, then how do we create a long-term financial sustainability plan so that we can grow and support the growing needs of our community? The board bought into it, and I'm grateful to Bishop Parker again and Charles and Marjorie Brunswick Foundation for funding that sustainability deep dive. And then we followed with a plan to invest in staff and resources, like a new database we're implementing as we speak this month. New initiatives to address systemic issues like childcare and disaster readiness. And our board was very supportive. So we went through a process of discovery, of agreement and alignment on the direction of the organization and setting that North Star vision. And then we went to work, and it's been about a year and a half, and it's been a great ride. So very, very grateful. I missed database transition as we speak.
Well, you've tackled a lot, and I love the fact that you're living your culture with the transparency. I do remember day number one for you, and I thought it was very vulnerable because when you get up there and you talk about, and I love how you pick those DISC and Myers-Briggs because they're objective. This isn't Veronica, this is what it says about you. I thought that was really gutsy, but you start to set the culture for the organization on vulnerability and other things as well. So when you looked at the culture of the organization as you molded, how do you view culture, and what are some of your tips and advice for other leaders that are trying to meld their culture?
Well, thank you for acknowledging, yes, it was a leap also to be vulnerable, but I think it's core to creating psychological safety. And that's a key ingredient of a healthy culture. I like to say, culture is alive. It's an organism that you must nurture and invest in intentionally. It is everyone's responsibility, not just the leader of the organization, but it is the leader of the organization's duty to establish culture as a priority. So I think that's where I saw my role in encouraging our team to focus and prioritize on it. And in today's employment/board member market, I'll say culture is not only your differentiator that attracts talent, but it's what keeps talent. And so when we think about retention, culture's king. There is nothing, pay, benefits, the work we do, none of those things are stronger than the culture you build. And so how? My list is long of the focus areas that develop that culture, but I'll say you start with the right staff in the right role. So you hire right, you take your time, You're always sourcing. As you know, I'm not waiting for a job opportunity to come about. I'm always looking for talent. And that's important. And when you hire the right talent, you get out of their way. So that's a piece that's important too. You hire for potential and talent, not knowledge and experience only. You hire those people that you know will own the culture and understand its value to us as well, rather. You create that psych safety, because without it, no board and staff can possibly reach their true potential. So I'm, again, back to psych safety. I know I sound like a broken record with it, but it's essential. And then I think it helps you discover who people are. They become more vulnerable, they become more open, and then you can create a unique value proposition for each person. And I'm lucky to have a small enough team where I can have those relationships with upcoming now 16 board members and 7 staff members, that we can create that unique employment opportunity. And so I have these chats called Best Places to Work for Conversations, where I sit with each individual, whether they report directly to me or not, and I ask a series of questions. One is a flight risk question. And people laugh about this, but I say on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being, you're going to have to get me out of here in a casket, and 10 being, just before this call, I had an interview. Where do you land? And so it allows me to have a quantifiable way of monitoring through time how people's retention factor varies. And then it allows me to identify their priorities. I have a person who prefers to work from home 24/7 if she could. I have another person who has very significant family needs. And so identifying those pieces, and then hiring the team you trust, so that you can say to them, do your work where you do your work best, and when you do your work best, and be here in these common times, at retreats, at the staff meeting every week, when we have events. But creating leeway is huge. And then investing in culture at a board level as well, with retreats, with development opportunities, with one-on-ones with our board. And since I've started, we've had three staff retreats. We're going to have a 4th one. The team really love it. Sometimes we have speakers, sometimes we do not, but I like this phrase. I read a newsletter actually this morning from Parenting Matters. Perfectionism is the enemy of connection. And that really hit me, because I am a perfectionist. In building a team you can retain, you have to temper that and know that you hire those who are passionate about your mission and their mission in alignment. And that building that team is more important than a perfect outcome. So I have to work on that daily, letting go and remembering that. I like this other phrase too, is don't let great be the enemy of good. Sometimes good is good enough and is what you need. So, one of the first things I did when I started to was reflecting on the level of service that we want to give our donors, and who do I need to have in the team, and what does my facility need to look like and feel like to provide that culture that is immersive, that our staff, our board, and our donors and our community partners all feel. So we reinvested in the facility, right? We painted, we updated a few features, we made it more user friendly, and we put some sayings on the wall, and we worked together as a team to come up with those motivational leadership, inspirational quotes. And I'll say mine is, it only seems impossible until it's done. And our boardroom says, we can do great things together. Another says, success is a decision. So the team intentionally determined what are the mantras, right, that we want and what does the environment need to feel like? So from individuals to the facility to investing in our culture, it's all the ingredients. And I could talk about this for 2 days, so I'm going to stop and let you ask another question.
Well, I love this because it is intentional and it takes time, but I love the intentionality and the environment you've created. You touched a little bit on the interaction with the board and the board members. And as a CEO of a community foundation, that's critically important because they are your bosses. Would you just give some insight into how you interact with the board? Meeting wise, you mentioned you have some one-on-ones with them, but I'm curious, could you just paint the landscapes so other CEOs can learn from you?
Well, I can learn from them. We, I think, can all learn together. Having a board as a boss, right? 16 people in this case, can be a challenge, right? They all have different perspectives, opinions, and although they are, in my case, thankfully, a wonderful united front, establishing relationships with each individual is important. So having that one-on-one with your board members regularly is key. Transparency, again, back to core values. As CEO, report at every board meeting. Proactive coordination of committee meetings, board meetings, any interaction opportunity so that you can make sure most people can be there or all. Setting some expectations too, that this is a two-way street and you got to be there to have this relationship, especially when you start a new role. And then one of the pieces I did early in the game that I'm really glad is I asked our board chair if he would be open to having our vice chair join our standing meetings, which I established every 2 weeks then, now they're monthly. He said yes. And it was a huge investment in getting our vice chair ready for the next role and investing in the continuity, not only for me, but for the board and the organization. And then being constantly available via text, phone, screen. And, our board is extremely supportive. So I'm lucky, but they are just a text away and just a call away. And then I think, too, investing in a non-work timeframes. So we do sessions after board meetings with our board that are social. We do events outside of those timeframes, and we connect with people throughout the year. And then we nurture the future board member prospects together. And I think that in itself allows more face time and more alignment as to how we want our board to evolve. Right? Because the talent you bring into the future is how your board evolves. So it's working with my current bosses and my potential future bosses in as a whole, really. And I'll say I'm grateful that the question is manage the board. I think we manage each other and we do it as partners. And that really works. It's intentional.
Yeah, and I've seen that. You've done a really nice job, and you do have a wonderful board. And so that relationship, that dance, if you will, the board and the CEO, it really works for you all. And I give you credit for all the work that you've extended to make that happen. Lately I've seen some things on LinkedIn and just other clients. It's that challenge a leader has from being liked and being respected, being liked, which really precludes maybe some important decisions to be made because you come in, you have to make decisions that are going to change things because you're different. So by nature of that, so as a leader, how do you balance with being liked versus and being respected?
That's a great question and challenge. I'll say I look up to other leaders who do really well in this space, and a lot of them are relentlessly themselves and unapologetically themselves. And I think that's something that it took a long time in my career to learn, is that you're constantly trying to be what you think that board or that staff or that community needs. And the energy it takes for any one person to be and act differently than their nature is so much better spent in your strengths. So I've discovered, and I am now unapologetically me, quirky as I might be, informal as I might be, direct and very driven and motivated. But the world knows that. I put it on the table. And I invite open and candid conversation. I think we can get so much more done that way. So I'll say overall, you cannot please everyone, so stop trying. Be, relentless in your pursuit of good for others. In our case, an incredible mission at MCF. Be unapologetically you and ask for feedback and respond when appropriate, but don't change who you are. Rather, find an organization that values who you are and aligns with who you are, and then go be the best version of yourself in that organization. And I'll say I've encountered a lot of situations where I followed other leaders, certainly not at MCF. Susie Bowie preceded me, an incredible leader, but they were so hung up on being respected that they managed by fear. And that's a lot of trauma for an organization from a culture perspective. Undoing that as a new leader is really difficult. So I'll say respect is not fear. Respect is mutual and it must be earned. So if you are yourself and you put your team first with their board or staff, and you listen and you create that employee value proposition that's unique to them, they're going to respect you in return. And in terms of the community at large, it's the same. Be out there, be yourself, be kind overall, and you will be respected. It's not hard if it comes from the heart. I think I see a lot of my mentors and leaders I look up to kind of be leaders with ease, because they're amazing, but they're themselves. And they respect that themselves.
What a great answer. Right there. That's book worthy right there, Veronica. And I appreciate that. As we're starting to wrap up, if there's somebody out there that's in the for-profit space, private industry, and they are thinking about philanthropy, what advice would you give them?
I'll go back to everyone can be a philanthropist. Philanthropy is not about wealth. It is about character. It's about the investment you choose to make with the skills, talent, time, all the things you may have in that season of life. So philanthropy is for everyone. And at MCF, we find a way. And I love that we have this boutique approach at philanthropy. We meet everyone where they are. And we are great connectors, and whether it's opening a donor advice fund or a field of interest fund or an unrestricted fund or a scholarship, or whether it is wanting to be a board member and at MCF or elsewhere, or whether it is investing as a business in philanthropy, which is essential these days, especially with our younger generations expecting social responsibility. There's always a way to be a philanthropist, to care for human life. That's really what philanthropy is about. So come see us at MCF and we'll help you find that path.
And how do they find you at MCF?
Many ways. MCF has a wonderful website. So Manatee CF, so letter C, letter F, manateecf.org. All of our contact info and our team's direct contact info is there. I love to hear from all of our community, so please reach out.
Ladies and gentlemen, Veronica Thames, CEO for the Manatee Community Foundation. Veronica, thank you so much for sharing your time with us, but more importantly, your wisdom and experience. This has been a wonderful conversation.
Thank you. Always fun to see you.
All right, here we go. Recapping with Reed. Reed, what was your takeaway from our discussion with Veronica?
My first takeaway from Veronica is something she mentioned twice. Philanthropy is a matter of character, not wealth. Everyone has some sort of time, talent, or treasure at a different stage of their life that they can give.
Yeah, that's well stated. Number two.
When Veronica first stepped into the role of CEO, she went on a discovery process where she spent a couple months talking to over 400 people about the Manatee Community Foundation, what they can do. And then she got aligned with her board after that, aligned with her staff on what their vision is for the future. And then she went to work. So measure twice, cut once.
There you go. And don't think for a minute she wasn't working throughout that time either. I know her. Number three, excuse me.
I like when she said she doesn't wait for a position to become open to start recruiting staff. She is always looking for the best, the brightest, the most talented. It reminds me, I'm reading a book about Rockefeller. He did the same exact thing. He didn't wait for the position to become open. He hired the best and found a way that they can help the company.
Boy, and that is, I've seen somebody do that personally. He was remarkable at it, and she has hired some incredible people. So yes, word to every CEO out there, always be hiring. That's that phrase, always be hiring. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen, recapping with Reed. And you know what? We will I-501 see you next week.